All the cars got away cleanly. Through Eau Rouge, the order was as in practice: Graham Hill, McLaren, Taylor, Meyrès, Gregory and Arndt. Into La Source, Hill held a slim lead over Taylor, McLaren was third, and Jim Clark a fantastic fourth, up from 12th on the grid. The 5 leading cars were having a tremendous battle and were continually passing and repassing one another. On the 4th lap, there was a tremendous cheer from the crowd as Belgian Meyrès appeared in the lead, the other 4 cars still snapping at his heels. After waiting and watching, Clark had moved from 5th to 1st in little over a single lap. Arland didn't like the handling of his Lotus and came in. Clark now started to pull away from the 4 cars behind him. Jim Clark was now lapping in 3 minutes 56 seconds, pulling away at over 2 seconds per lap. Clark was now able to tour home, having driven a well-judged and intelligent race. The sheep farmer from the Scottish borders thus took his first victory.
And then Chapman took Clark to the Indianapolis 500. At his first attempt, he shook the American establishment by finishing second.
But Parnelli Jones finishes the 500-mile ordeal in 3 hours and 29 minutes. Scotsman Jim Clark's Lotus captures second place.
Clark had only just missed out on winning the Indy 500 at his first attempt.
As the pace car pulls into the pits, Jim Clark moves ahead on Foyt and pulls into the lead. Clark continues his lead, but coming out of the backstretch, A.J. Foyt passes and moves to the front. Foyt tries to press his advantage, but Clark hangs on, determined to reclaim his lead. Jimmy Clark crosses the finish line to become the victor of the 1965 Indianapolis 500.
He won that race by 2 whole laps. And lots of people don't report that these days. He flew.
Championship table. Pouring rain kept speeds down, but still the cars were lapping at more than 120. Just back from his fantastic win at Indianapolis, Jim Clark, number 17. Hot on his heels, Jackie Stewart, number 8. Reigning champion John Surtees in the pits when his Ferrari broke down. Clark's best lap speed was 125 miles an hour. He beat Stewart into second place. Clark, the first man ever to win the European Grand Prix 4 times running, now leads for this year's championship.
Spa in 1963, he won by nearly 5 minutes in the rain.
2 laps of the road circuit, 280 miles next. Jim Clark, Lotus Climax. It was the second race in this year's World Championship Series. And in the pits, Jack Brabham.
lined up on the dummy grid for the start of what promises to be a magnificent Grand Prix in front of a record crowd. The cars carry the national colours. Red for the Ferraris from Italy. I can see John Surtees there, their British #1 driver. And all the British cars are painted racing green. The independent entries carry the colours of their drivers. Blue for France, silver for Germany, white and blue for the United States. think I can see the course marshals putting out the slow flags. But what a magnificent fight he put up during that tremendous dice he had with Dan Gurney earlier on when they broke the lap record between them 3 times. Graham Hill now goes into the lead, and what a race this promises to be between Graham Hill in the BRM and John Surtees in the Ferrari. Here they come past the grandstands very fast. They must be close to the lap record, doing about 160 miles an hour, I should say, both going beautifully, both getting ready to take their line for Paddock Bend. One of them must now give way. They're still holding on to their line. Oh, what magnificent driving!
A moment to plan. To fasten a collar. To try on a new pair of goggles. To listen to the advice of the mechanic. And then the time is all gone. The moment for which they have been preparing is here. And for the next 500 miles, each man will ride alone, doing the thing he knows best, driving a precision racing machine to win. Three cars all together. On the surface, one pace lap looks like another. But close examination shows that the face of the 500 is changing. Only 4 of the starters are roadsters. 2 are Novis. The rest are rear-engine cars. As the pace car pulls into the pits, Jim Clark moves ahead on Foyt and pulls into the lead. Nervous drivers begin to settle down into driving patterns, which each individual man hopes will bring him into victory lane. Jim Hurtuby's dream of finding the short way around ends on the very first lap. His transmission is out. Clark continues his lead. But coming out of the backstretch, A.J. Foyt passes and moves to the front. Foyt tries to press his advantage, but Clark hangs on, determined to reclaim his lead. Clark recaptures the lead in the 3rd lap. Foyt goes to 2nd. Ruby spins in the north short chute, recovers in the infield, and drives on. Right behind him, Len Sutton loses control and spins in the identical spot, taking Dan Gurney with him. Both drivers recover. Gurney manages to hold on to 3rd position. From the 18th to the 42nd lap, 5 cars drop from the field. Then Dan Gurney is out with clutch trouble. A month of work gone. Clark continues to widen the gap, and A.J. Foyt has to stop thinking about being first, for Parnelli Jones engages him in a duel which completely takes his mind off the front-running Clark. Clark gets the fuel sign and pulls in on the 66th lap. The pit stop takes 17 seconds. Very short, considering that under a new ruling, fuel may be added by gravity flow tanks only. Foyt has the lead, but must soon make a pit stop. He tries to build up space between himself and Clark. Rookie Mario Andretti, in the pits on the 68th lap, desperately tries to get back to the race. He's running fourth and has been holding his own, matching the 150-mile-an-hour speed average set by the leaders. In the 75th lap, A.J. Foyt comes in. Another new ruling this year provides for 2 mandatory pit stops during the race. This does away with the dangerous practice of drivers carrying excessive fuel loads in an attempt to go the distance without stopping. Clark comes down the straightaway and moves back into the lead. Foyt comes out of the pits and takes up his position, but he's now following both Clark and Parnelli Jones. Andretti is right behind in fourth. Bobby Unser goes out with engine failure. Both Novis are out of the race. At the halfway point, Clark leads. Foyt has regained second. But 16 laps later, Foyt pulls abruptly into the pits. His transmission has failed, and he's disgusted. This 1965 500 could have given him his third win, a record attained by only 3 men, Louis Meyer, Maury Rose, and Wilbur Shaw. Clark gets the word that Foyt is out. Some of the pressure is gone, but there is still Parnelli Jones to be reckoned with. In the 119th lap, Bud Tingelstad is running 5th behind Andretti. He loses a wheel and crashes the wall in turn number 3. The wheel rolls into the infield. The caution light is on, and the race is slowed. Tingelstad joins a growing list of 18 drivers who have gone out of the race. Taking advantage of the yellow flag, Parnelli Jones makes his second pit stop. The engine coughs and almost dies, but springs to life as a relieved crew cheers him back into second position. The race roars on at 152 miles an hour average. The record book is being rewritten in this fastest 500. Clark powers into the pits on the 137th lap. He has a 2-minute edge on Parnelli Jones. A comfortable margin, but there's still more than 60 laps left in the race. "24 seconds later, he's on his way again. Walt Hanskin drives through the north infield with a blown engine. Now 21 of 33 starters are out of the race. On the 139th lap, Mario Andretti makes his second stop. He's running third. Mickey Rupp is fourth, and Gordon Johncock is fifth. 3 rookies and 2 veterans lead the field. "39 seconds later, he's out of the pits, set to go the distance. At 150 laps, the speed average is 151.138 miles per hour, a new record for this changing 500. Parnelli Jones makes a third pit stop in the 162nd lap. The crew really gets with it, for Andretti is coming up fast from third position. "24 seconds puts him back in the battle, but the elusive Clark is far ahead. Carrying a light fuel load, Parnelli gambles on having enough to go the distance. This eliminates an all-out bid to catch Clark, who is 2 minutes ahead. Coming down to the end of the race is Clark, Jones, and Andretti, running together, but traveling in different laps. Still holding his record-breaking pace, Jimmy Clark crosses the finish line to become the victor of the 1965 Indianapolis 500. Parnelli Jones finishes a clean second and runs out of fuel. He heads for home, pushing the car. And Jimmy Clark heads for victory lane and a winner's prize of more than $160,000. The fate of the front-engine roadster is settled. The rear-engine cars have completely revolutionized the racing picture since their introduction just 5 years ago. Jimmy Clark of Scotland becomes the first foreign driver to win since 1916.
23 speed aces are on the grid at Brands Hatch to start the European Grand Prix. Using the famous number 7 that Sterling Moss favored is Ferrari driver, champion in the making, John Surtees. And here, as president of the RAC, Earl Mountbatten has a word with some of these super drivers. New Zealand's Bruce McLaren, Cooper Climax. Jack Brabham is driving a Brabham Climax. Current world champion Jim Clark, Lotus Climax as usual. Sterling Moss has to keep to the sidelines now. What a loss to the motor racing world. BRM's Graham Hill is only 1 point behind Jim Clark in the championship race. And they're away. The race is over 80 laps of the 2.65-mile circuit. That's 212 miles. 2 of them make an inauspicious start. Now boosted to the status of a Grand Prix course, Brands Hatch is a real test for even top-class drivers. It's gear-changing all the way is the description of Jim Clark himself, given after a practice run. And watch now as the champion just leads Graham Hill into the bend. A Pathé shot to remember, a driver's eye view of what Grand Prix racing means at Brands Hatch. Graham Hill's in second place. John Surtees in third. Jack Brabham's in fourth place. Here's Jim Clark and the gear changing he spoke about. Near the end of the race, a terrific duel between Clark and Graham Hill. But it's the champion who's first at the checkered flag. Hill second. So at 94.14 miles an hour, Clark wins the European Grand Prix and so leads Hill by 4 points in the championship table. Nobody's likely to forget that closing duel between Clark and Hill. Applause well earned by a real champion.